Hello, beta. Good afternoon. In today's lecture, we are going to go ahead and start with chapter 8 of HL Ahuja, which talks about indifference curve analysis. Beta, in this chapter, we want to talk about, so we have already seen what cardinal approach says. We have already seen how cardinality says that यूटिलिटी कैन बी मेजर्ड कार्डिनैलिटी बोलते हैं कि आप यूटिलिटी को यूटिल्स में मेजर कर सकते हो 1 यूटिल 2 यूटिल 4 यूटिल एक्सेट्रा बट नाउ वी वांट टू गो अहेड एंड वी वांट टू टॉक अबाउट द अदर अप्रोच रैंकिंग अप्रोच कि कैसे हम बिना यूटिलिटी को नंबर्स दिए विदाउट गिविंग नंबर्स टू यूटिलिटी how can we go ahead and how can we rank two bundles? How can I say that bundle A is preferred over B or B is preferred over A? ये कैसे बोल सकते हैं? How can we go ahead and say that? That is what I want to go ahead and discuss today. ये चीज हमको आज discuss करनी है, right? So, in order to understand this approach, we want to go ahead and first of all, we want to talk about an important person. He is Higgs. So, in 1939, right, Higgs, he went ahead and he reproduced the indifference curve approach, and his book name was Value and Capital. Right, beta? तो 1939 में हिग्स ने एक बुक लिखी. The name of his book was Value and Capital. And in that book, Value and Capital, he actually talked about the indifference curve theory. Actually, before this, before 1939, Higgs and Allen, दो economists थे, Higgs and Allen. They had written a paper. उन्होंने एक पेपर लिखा था, and that was called as a reconsideration of the theory of value. Right, beta? So, उन्होंने एक पेपर लिखा called Reconsideration of the Theory of Value, and in that they in detail criticized Marshall. तो उन्होंने मार्शल को काफी क्रिटिसाइज किया, मार्शल की कार्डिनल अप्रोच को काफी क्रिटिसाइज किया. दे सेड दैट no, utility cannot be measured, right? You cannot have utility in terms of number. That is absolutely wrong. So they went ahead and they criticized Marshall in leap and bound. ये उन्होंने किया इस पेपर में, a reconsideration of the theory of value. And post that, in 1939, Higgs actually wrote a paper, a book called Value and Capital, in which he talked about the indifference curve approach. उन्होंने बताया कि indifference curve approach क्या होता है, right? Now, what we study now is actually that indifference curve approach होती है. हम उसी indifference curve approach को आज तक पढ़ते आ रहे हैं. So we want to talk about consumer behavior now and how consumers go ahead and how they choose among different goods. अगर मैं consumer को एक एप्पल और ऑरेंज का बंडल दे दूं और दूसरा एक और बंडल दे दूं जिसमें 2 apples and 0 bananas हैं या 0 oranges हैं, so how will the consumer rank? Does he want 1 apple and 1 banana or does he want 2 apple and 0 bananas? How will he rank different bundle? वो किसको कैसे preference देगा? That is what we want to study. That we want to go ahead and talk about the behavior of the consumer, right, beta? Now, before we start that, we want to also go ahead and talk about something which is called as composite good. अब ये composite good क्या है? देखो, whenever economists talk about any approach, जैसे whether we make budget line, whether we budget line means whether we talk about consumer spending his income on 2 goods, whether we talk about any approach, whether we talk about indifference curve approach, we only talk about two goods. We only talk about two dimensions, right? हम क्या करेंगे? We will go ahead and we will take good X, good Y, and then we will do our entire analysis. पूरी की पूरी analysis will be on good X and good Y. But in the real world, right? It is not that consumer is just dealing with two goods. जैसे अभी मैंने example दिया. Do you want a bundle which has 2 apple, 1 banana, or 4 apples, 0 bananas? So I am talking about two goods at a time. But that's not the real case. Now, in the real case, as a consumer, you will be consuming TV, you will be consuming fridge, you will be consuming car, you will be consuming fruits, you will be consuming movie, everything. बहुत कुछ consume कर रहे हो. In such case, how do we go ahead and how do we take all those goods into consideration? हम कैसे वो सारे goods के बारे में एक साथ बात करें? That is where we talk about composite. Okay, so let's write this down. So a composite code refers to all other goods holding one good separately. Let me give you an example. तब ये बात समझ में आएगी थोड़ी. तो अभी तक what we were doing ना, what we used to do is we used to say कि this is good X and this is good Y. दो good लेते थे, good X and good Y. And this was in a 2-dimension space. ये दो dimensions हो गई. 2-dimension Y बेटा because I have X axis and Y axis. Right? Now, suppose I want to show 3 goods. तो बेटा कैसे show कर सकते हैं? एक 3D diagram बन जाएगा. Good X, good Y, good Z. ये 3 dimension हो गए. But what if I want to show n goods? So will I make n dimensions? It will be very difficult. So what I will do is, I will say that there is one good on which I want to focus. Say that can be good X. And the second good, it will be all goods other than good X. Example. But I am saying you that you have 100 rupees. आपके पास 100 रुपए हैं. You have 100 rupees with you. And I am telling you that price of good X is 2 rupees and you are buying 5 units of good X. How many money are you spending on good X? So money is spent on good X. Beta, that will be 2 into 5. That means 10. So you are spending 10 rupees on good X and your income is 100. What is the remaining income that you have? Remaining money? 100 minus 10, that means 90 rupees. So from this remaining money, from these remaining 90 rupees, you will be able to buy all other goods. आप बाकी सारे goods खरीद पाओगे, है ना? बेशक ही उन 90 rupees से, so suppose good X is apple. Other than that, right, from the remaining 90 rupees, you can buy oranges, bananas, TV, fridge, whatever you want. So this 90 rupees, the money spent on all other goods हो गया ना, this will represent the composite good. Because अब हम ये नहीं बोल रहे कि दूसरा good Y है. I am not saying the other is good Y. I am saying that the other is all other goods. बाकी सारे goods जो हैं वो other goods में. Right, beta? That's the first concept we wanted to understand. That is the concept of a composite good. The second concept beta that we want to focus on, उसको बोलते हैं what is a bundle. What is a bundle? So a consumption bundle simply means the quantity of the goods you consume. So it represents the quantity of goods consumed. Right, beta? जैसे for example, x1, y1 ये रिप्रेजेंट करता है कंजम्पशन बंडल, रिप्रेजेंट्स कंजम्पशन बंडल. But in this, I am saying that I am consuming x1 units of good one and y1 units of good. Right. Similarly, bache, I can go ahead and I can write x2, y2. Right. यहाँ पे of good xy कर देते हैं. That will be easy. Of good x, of good y. अगर मेरा consumption bundle x2, y2 है, then I am consuming x2 units of good x and y2 units of good y. So basically, the consumption bundle represents the quantity that you will be consuming, quantity of the two goods consumed. कितना good x consume कर रहे हो और कितना good y, that represents consumption. Now let's talk about the type of preferences. When it comes to preferences, there will be three kind of preferences. First, indifference. But when I talk about indifference, it means that you get the same utility from the two bundle. अगर आपको दो bundle से same utility मिलती है, then it means that you are indifferent between the two bundles, right? So for example, we can go ahead and say that suppose you have bundle 1, right? Let me represent bundle 1 by A. This is x1 units of good x and y1 units of good y. And you have bundle B. Beta, इसमें है x2 units of good x and y2 units of good y. Then indifference would mean that these two bundle give you the same level of utility. Matlab utility, I am representing utility with U. Utility means satisfaction. So satisfaction from bundle A is equal to satisfaction from bundle B. If these two bundles are giving you the same level of satisfaction, अगर इन दोनों से आपको same satisfaction मिलती है, same utility मिलती है, if the two give you the same level of satisfaction, then we will say that consumer is indifferent between bundle A and B. Consumer will be indifferent between A and B. But how can we show this thing? In order to show that I am indifferent between A and B, the sign of indifference is this. इसको हम बोलते हैं sign of indifference. Right, beta? So, when I say that I am indifferent between A and B, whenever you will see this sign, it means that you are indifferent between A and B. It means that utility from A will be equal to utility from B. दोनों आपको same level of utility देंगे. Am I clear with that? Now the second kind of indifference that we have, that is known as weak preference. अच्छा, पहले let's do strict preference. Sorry, strict preference. But what is strict preference? Strict preference means that you get more utility from one bundle as compared to the other bundle. Just for example, but I tell you that you love pizza and you love cold drink. Ah, There is bundle A, which is giving you 4 pizzas and 2 cold drink. And there is bundle B, which is giving you 3 pizza and 1 cold drink. Right, beta? Clearly, this bundle is giving you more pizza and more cold drink. You will want this bundle. आपको तो pizza और cold drink दोनों ही बहुत पसंद है. So you would want the bundle which gives you more of both the things, na? So clearly, you will get more utility from A as compared to B. Your satisfaction from A will be more as compared to your satisfaction from B. So how can I show this in terms of preferences? The sign used is like this. This sign means strict preference. Strict preference means that A is strictly preferred to B. मतलब अगर A और B मैं आपको 2 bundles दे दूं, तो आप हमेशा बोलोगे कि मुझे A चाहिए B के ऊपर. You will strictly prefer A over B, right? Now, so whenever 2 bundles are given, and you can strictly say, you can clearly say, I want A over B, then that is strict preference. So whenever A is strictly preferred over B, इसका मतलब ये होगा that utility from A is clearly greater than utility from B. A की utility B से ज़्यादा है. That is what strict preference means. Now, beta, we talk about the third. And now we are talking about weak preference. Right, beta? Weak preference basically is the case when I give you 2 bundles, A and B. जैसे मैंने आपको एक bundle दे दिया A, and I tell you the second bundle is B. If the utility of A is either greater than or equal to the utility from B, मतलब या तो वो B से ज्यादा होगी या B के बराबर. I cannot say clearly what it is. Either it will be greater than B or it will be equal to B. Both these are possibilities. Then I will say that it is weak preference relation. But how can we show this? Weak preference means either A can be preferred to B or you are indifferent between A and B. देखो, ऊपर वाला जो sign है, this one means A is having more utility than B. If A will have more utility than B, then A will be preferred over B. If A will be having equal utility to B, A और B की utility बराबर की है, then you will be indifferent between A and B. Now these two are combined together. So you will either have this case or you will have this case. One of the two. दोनों में से कोई एक ही हो सकता है. Either the first one or the second one. Am I clear on that part? Okay. Now what we need to understand are some of the assumptions of indifference curve model. Assumptions. Now, when it comes to assumptions, the first assumption that we have is completeness. What is completeness? But a completeness means that the consumer should be capable of ranking alternative bundles. So please write down. Consumer should be capable of ranking alternative bundles. Try to understand what we are saying in this case. In this case, if I give 2 options to the consumer, if I say, look, This is bundle A. This is bundle B. Then the consumer should be able to tell me कि I prefer A over B, or I prefer B over A, or I am indifferent between A and B, right? He should be able to tell me this. He should not be saying, I don't know. समझो बात को. Like for example, beta, if I ask you, do you love economics or maths? You should be able to tell me, ma'am, I love economics over maths. Or I love maths over economics. Or, ma'am, I get the same utility from maths and economics. You should be able to tell me your preference. आप अपनी preference मुझे बता पाओ. It should not be the case that you are not able to tell your preference. You should not be like this, ma'am, I am confused. I don't know whether it is economics or maths. Are you getting? So a consumer should not be confused. He should be able to tell whether he prefers economics over maths, maths over economics, or indifferent. But who will be indifferent? I mean, who will not have completeness? So not completeness. कहाँ पे completeness follow नहीं हो सकती? Example दो. A mother who loves her two children. A mother has two children, A and B. Can she tell whether she prefers A over B or B over A? She cannot, right? So in some cases, you cannot compare, right? If I tell a mother that, you can only save one of your child, will she be able to answer that? Right? You will only be able to give food to one of your child, right? Will she be able to answer that? No. So in human emotions, completeness cannot be followed, right? That's the first example. Beta, the second assumption that we have, usko bolte hain hum transitivity. So the second one we have is called transitivity. What is transitivity? क्या होती है transitivity? When you are able to rank bundles in a consistent manner. Rank all available bundles in consistent manner. That is transitivity. Just say, for example, if I am saying I will prefer A over B, I will prefer B over C, I should be able to prefer A over C. अगर A B के ऊपर preferred है, B C के ऊपर, तो A C के ऊपर preferred होना चाहिए. Right? If I am saying I am indifferent between A B, indifferent between B C, I should be indifferent between A and C. When this happens, then we have transitivity. Right, beta? So consistency in ranking bundles. Bundle को consistently rank करो. That is called transitivity.